Thank you for downloading this episode of the Metroparks Podcast. We are here. You should all know our names by now. Matt and Lorenzo. Episode 22, Matt. We are slowly climbing to our year anniversary, by the way.
How about that? And we are slowly climbing to just over 40 downloads per episode. Pretty soon we'll have more episodes than downloads. Lucky number 22. Catch 22. I don't know what that's in reference to.
You just want to say it.
I just wanted to say it.
Yeah.
22. We are coming into full bloom as a park system here as people are coming out of their caves from a COVID standpoint. Still need to be careful, right? But I feel like we are kind of back in action almost.
Yeah, everything is... I can tell people are using the park more because of how hard we have to work in the morning to clean everything.
Yeah, sure.
Everything, which is good. Everything's getting used. That's our job, to clean things up.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's good that everything's getting used and
things are getting booked.
Yes.
And people are making plans and getting together. So it does feel good. I mean, the parks have always been busy, as we talked about, sort of a record year in that standpoint last year. Mm-hmm. But I feel like there's people out smiling, and like embracing. Yeah. I know that's seems like a trite thing to make mention of seeing, but man, does that feel good. And we're having somewhat meetings in person, so it's been a long haul, but it'll be a great summer. It might feel a little bit better even because we've been without each other for so long.
Yeah. Well, not just me and you, but
yes, we've been stuck together that's absolutely right. So we got a lot going on though. We've got some notes from the staff. We've got some things to brag about. We've got some public service announcements.
Yeah. I don't know what to call this segment, but it's basically things that are happening in the park or shout outs or, just overall, here's some highlights of what's happening right now.
Sounds great.
So at Providence Park, the boat is in the water.
Boat's in the water.
Then there's that T-shirt that we said we should make a long time ago, Life's Better When Boat's in the Water. It is in the water.
Still working on it.
Yeah. Something like that. Also, the mill's going to be open. It's open right now. The boat is not going to be going up and down the canal. It's not going to be pulled by the mules, but you will be able to see the boat, go on the boat during particular hours. They're also going to have interpretation. It's going to be the mill and the boat will be operational from Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays from 12 to 6. So head on out there, check the boat out, check the mill out. They're going to be cutting logs every once in a while. Again, there'll be people there talking about everything. So and there's no cost to any of that stuff. So just go check it out. If you are a larger group, they are encouraged to reserve it so everyone is aware it can be accommodating to you. Also, here where we record Wildwood Metropark has a new supervisor. Phil Koger's coming over from Swan Creek, taking over for Anthony as he moved up to the Central Region Manager. So we got people moving around, people excited to be moving up, just
doing their thing
in leadership roles.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And last thing is because the park is getting more use now, all the parks are, just be mindful of when you use parks, be respectful of spaces, clean up after your dogs. I think we had a top 3 about that. Clean, making sure garbage goes where garbage goes, be mindful of people around you. And so that way everybody has a good time when they're out here at the park.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. It's, this is not a sort of a neener or a hand slapping thing here. It's just good rules.
Yeah.
There's trail etiquette and things of that variety that, so be mindful of one another and help us continue to make this the best park system in the United States. So pretty awesome stuff. And again, overarchingly, the message is we are thrilled to be back in business.
And that our guests are talking about what's happening coming up this summer. Speaking of being back to business, so our guests coming up are Shannon Hughes, Director of Education and Programs, and Jen Elsworth, Manager of Requested Programs. And we're back with our guests, Shannon Hughes, Director of Education and Programs, and Jen Elsworth, Manager of Requested Programs. Thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Thanks for having us.
You can say thanks now, Shannon.
We're happy to be here.
Yeah, okay. You can edit something nicer in there. All right, timely. You guys are in to talk about all kinds of things, programming, and camp, although they are rapidly filling. So I do want to congratulate both of you in that way. But just first things first, who are you and what are you doing here? Shannon, you've been with the park system for quite some time and have had multiple hats here. So I'd like to get to that eventually. But where are you from originally?
Oh, originally I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So my family moved here when I was a little bit younger. So I grew up in the area. I went away to school in Cleveland, lived overseas for a little bit.
Where'd you live?
I actually lived in England and in France. So I studied over there. I was a history major, actually medieval history. And It was really interesting to get to be over there and live where the history took place.
Have you ever been to Medieval Times, the Thematic restaurant?
I have not had the pleasure.
Yeah.
I'll put it on my bucket list, though.
That is a must stop.
Wait, you've been there?
Of course I have.
Oh.
Yeah, it's wonderful. That is a topic for a different show, but I can't emphasize it enough. If you're celebrating something or have a big anniversary coming, Medieval Times is the place to go. They're not encumbered by silverware or good taste. So if you like Pepsi and regret, that is the place for you.
And chicken legs.
Yeah.
Don't they have big turkey?
Big turkey legs. Yeah,
big turkey
absolutely.
Legs. Yeah.
It's wonderful. So you a history major. So your first gig getting out of school, where did you start?
Was actually here. So actually, the very first place I worked as a graduate from school was at the Canal Experience at Providence Metroparks. So I started off there. It's the truth. I started off as a seasonal because people who can tell you that if you go to school for something like history and you don't have any intention of going right to grad school, everybody asks, well, what are you going to do with that? And I was bound and determined to do something with that. And so
almost everyone says, I'll be looking for a canal boat experience to work in.
Especially as a medieval historian.
Yeah,
we're only off by about
together.
300 years.
Yeah, well, we're not strong in math on this show, but I think I'm tracking. So we got to we're up to date with the canal boat. Jen, what is your story?
Oh, my story. I'm actually from Cleveland, and I went to school over there.
Is there a Medieval Times there?
We're going to ask everyone this now. For
there could be. Yeah. I have also had the pleasure of going to one of those.
Yes.
But I think we were on vacation in Florida.
Sure.
I've been
to the Orlando one.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
it was
think
wonderful.
that was it.
It was a good experience. Yeah.
Wait, how many have you been to?
2.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
mine was Yellow Knight and Green Knight. So we were not the victors. But I felt like we all won with a fun night of reasonably priced entertainment. Go ahead. You're from Cleveland. And it's Jen, am I pronouncing that right?
Oh.
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Yes.
2 N's?
Just one.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Just collecting my notes here. We don't have a great research staff here.
That's okay. Okay.
All right, Cleveland.
Yeah, I say Cleveland. I was from a town in Aurora by SeaWorld. It's probably.
Are you asking me or?
No, that's where.
Okay.
Not everybody knows where Aurora is, and SeaWorld's also not there any longer. So at this point, I just say Cleveland.
Yeah.
But that's where my college was. So Jen and I actually.
Yeah.
You guys met? This is great.
It's funny. She went to Lake Erie College, which we played. So I went to Hiram. She went to Lake Erie, and our colleges actually played each other in soccer. So
both very small colleges.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. How about that?
Interesting.
So Lake Erie is college you went to studied.
I studied environmental science.
Okay.
And then I also have a minor in equestrian studies because most folks, when they think of Lake Erie College, they think horses. And
Yes, well, I've never thought of Lake Erie College.
Believe it or
And
not.
now I'm absolutely not thinking about equestrian studies. So,
believe it or not, I knew about the college in 5th grade.
Get out.
And I said I was going to go there. And, promptly forgot about it. And then Hiram College was actually on my list also.
Yeah.
Lake Erie.
They'll accept anybody there. That's what I've heard.
Even Shannon.
Yeah. That's the joke Jen implied. Jesus.
Yep. It was a good place to be.
So equestrian, I hope I don't take the full 45 minutes you're talking about just the space, but I am intrigued. So as a little girl, horses were part of your life?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I was that young girl that always wanted a pony. I got a
Lorenzo's
pony.
exactly the same. We're really bringing people together here.
I mean, I had the privilege of taking riding lessons.
Sure.
I went to, Girl Scout camp for horses. I finally got my first pony at 24,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
And promptly named it Pony.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's her name.
That's the
Wait, what? Time out.
this is where the
You've been dreaming of a pony your entire life. I'm sure you've gone through multiple names.
Yeah.
And that's the name, as an adult, that's the name you chose?
Well, she only uses the one N in Jen, too, so there's not a lot of creativity.
There's only one N in pony, too.
Yeah,
Yep.
it says you.
Yep.
Full circle.
Anyway, why?
So she has an interesting story. She came out of a she came out of a kill pen. I mean, it's kind of a sad story, I suppose.
Okay, well, back to Hiram.
Now I feel bad, okay?
Yeah,
We did not have equestrian studies.
yeah, thank God. Anyway, Shannon, back to your first job. Any kill pens in your career?
Well, yeah, I was a historian, so there's all sorts of slaughter.
Yeah.
We're going right back down that track, I think.
Next week's guest,
Name of this podcast,
yeah,
Kill House.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you got this pony, you named it Pony.
Yeah.
Well, and since she came out of auction, her name at the auction was KC, like
Okay.
just the letters K and C.
yeah.
Kill County, got it. Okay.
So when I took her to the barn that she was originally at, she was the only pony there.
Sure.
So basically nobody ever bothered to learn her name. We had taken to calling her Casey, but everybody just called her Pony because she was the only pony there. I don't know, just kind of stuck.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it personally. I think
Yeah.
it's great.
Yeah, well, I'm not. I don't want to ask another question about this based on the
Are you afraid?
sort of morbid nature. But so, equestrian studies. Can you give me an idea of like what is the curriculum? What?
Oh, yeah. Well, I think they have a wider array of choices now, but primarily when I was there, you could be majoring in equestrian management. So if you want to
Okay.
go manage like a horse barn,
Yeah.
you could major in business classes and horse care practicum,
Okay.
things like that. The other track they had is you could major in like a equestrian trainer track. So you're
Okay.
like actually going to train people's horses.
Is there like a veterinarian component as well? Is there a science?
They have, and I imagine still do have a veterinarian on staff. So, I mean, you take like anatomy and physiology
Sure.
and those sorts of classes. Primarily, I was there doing the riding classes.
Yeah.
And because I was around so often and had so many friends in that program, I kind of snuck
No
my
reason to
way.
brag, Jen.
Well, I kind of snuck my way into some other classes
Yeah.
that, I had the prereqs for, but were normally
Yeah, that's
only
Pony's
for-
mom.
Yeah.
She's here for. She's auditing this class again. Yes, the apples go in this end.
Like I trained an Icelandic horse
Yeah.
in college.
Yeah,
it was
sure.
things like
Yep.
that. So it
Classic.
was-
Another box check for a
yeah,
podcast.
yeah.
How'd you feel when the winner of the Kentucky Derby got disqualified?
Fair question.
I didn't even get to watch the Kentucky Derby.
But that
this
guy,
year, but-
the trainer's like this world-renowned
Banner?
trainer.
Yeah. The horse racing industry is,
Oh God. Anyway, Shannon. So
I bought a hat for it, if that helps.
yeah, it does. Anything will help where this is going.
It was pink. That's
So-
my favorent color.
So your first job, please God, Jen, say something normal in the park and rec space.
well, no, this is where I was going with Aurora, right?
Okay, yeah, thanks.
SeaWorld.
Okay, we're home. Yep.
Yeah,
Oh, SeaWorld.
We're back.
Yeah.
SeaWorld.
Yeah.
My
There's
first
this big
job,
killer whale.
There were three
Yeah.
when I was there, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. Shamu, Mamu, and Candu.
Yep. You were part of the naming process, I assume.
No, because they would have been named Whale.
Yeah. Whale 1. Oddly enough, they're all named Pony.
I worked in park operations.
Okay.
So I was one of those people that walked around with a broom
Sure,
and
yeah.
a dustpan. And
Yep.
people would ask me for directions to the Commerson's dolphins, Magellanic penguins. I'd point them in the right direction. I
Yeah.
cleaned bathrooms, emptied trash cans.
But that was a busy place, so the
It
volume
was-
of
it
that.
was, yeah.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
So the park bug, though, so is sort of kind of getting into your DNA. You're obviously an outdoors person to some degree. Grew up playing outside. I mean, other than the equestrian component of it, were you out in the creek?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. My dad is a hydrogeologist.
Okay.
And he very much enjoys fossil hunting.
Okay.
So I would say one of my memories in the outdoors was fossil hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah. We did a lot of camping in the state parks and such, and
mostly alone.
Yeah,
sure.
You don't seem like a fossil hunter.
Yeah, no. Hunter of anything, even hunter of knowledge. So, Shannon, history major. You are now in the park system. What's the connection here? How did you get to from the canal boat as something to pay the bills to some degree? What got the hook in?
The hook was actually, I loved working with people. So it had began when I had thought, when I was going for my career, I had thought I was going to be an archivist or work in a library or a museum with the collections. I had every intention of going and getting my doctorate and teaching then long term. This was just a really nice way to teach in not a classroom setting. And so you have the ability to really reach individuals, young, old, doesn't matter the age, and make an impression on them and inspire them to either get involved in nature, in history, in all of our resource management. And so it was just a really nice combination of everything I enjoyed doing, and it took away the things I didn't enjoy doing.
Okay. So, from the canal experience, again, getting that space, and kind of a surprise to be like the outward facing so much. Where did your path take you from the canal?
So from the canal, I actually worked in the business services office here at Metroparks.
Okay.
Then I worked in human resources. Then I worked in finance. I do have a master's of public administration and with a minor in organizational development. So for a while, I hopped around in the business services area here. Then I went into safety to actually grow the program. We didn't have a program, so I created the program, grew the program, and then from there I went back to history. Back to the programming department.
And both of you have always, seems like you sort of morphed into having or wanting to be with people. Jen, have you always been an extrovert or an introvert? Where's the dividing line for you?
I mean, I would probably describe myself more as an introvert than an extrovert. Although I don't necessarily have a problem, standing in front of 75 people at Fallen Timbers, talking about the battle. So I guess I'm kind of somewhere in between. But I was always highly interested in being in the education field in some regard, but did not want to be confined to four walls in a classroom.
Which seems to not work for either one of you, actually. So, and remind me of the years that you've been with the park system, Shannon. How?
15.
And Jen?
Started at the end of 2007.
Okay.
Is when I started.
Math, go.
I was going to say we're just going to leave the math on the table.
No, you said it's not a math podcast, so people know. People
they won't. They'll figure it out. It's part of the Mad Lib on our Facebook. So now, Chen, you're back into programming in the space and into history. Tell me why that's important. Why is history important in a park system? What's the calling? It's certainly a lot of work.
Well, I think that it's important to tell the entire story. So parks have stories. Each park has a story. And so in order to tell a holistic story, you have to tell all of the parts of it. And there are cultural parts, there are natural parts of it, and there are historical parts of it. And so what we try to do is make sure that we represent all the parks. So when you talk about Metroparks, even just talking about Metroparks, there's a history to Metroparks. We were founded in 1928. So we are a historical institution in Toledo. And so there is history built into that. Each of the sites we steward has its own historical component as well as cultural component and natural component. And so what we really strive to do is make sure that we are telling the story of the people who lived here and the resources that they helped to change and that we're currently bringing back to
So, I mean, that's for. I'm going to put both of you kind of on the spot here, and this isn't like which one of your kids is your favorite, but there's usually is not.
Grace.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Nailed it. Yeah.
I only have one.
But there, I don't know if it's an aha moment or a favorite story to tell or a favorite component of your job, Jen. But Shannon, from the stories that you've told over the time, or from an interest standpoint, you've stewarded all of these things, almost everything, if not everything, the Metroparks has to offer. Is there something you find particularly compelling about our story? Is it a park, or is it people who lived here, or if there's one thing to tell people that you wouldn't want them to miss out on knowing, what's your favorite story we have?
Fallen Timbers is my favorite story.
Talk to me about that.
So Fallen Timbers is arguably one of the most important and formative battles in American history. And I think that we at Metroparks steward that history, but we also steward the land that goes with it. And it's incredibly important to make sure that we protect that story and tell the entire story. There's a lot of people who fought at the battle, and there's a lot of times that the battle has actually been forgotten. It's not necessarily built into curriculum, and it is, like I said, arguably one of the most important battles. It opened up the Northwest Territory to settlement. It ushered in an era that completely changed the face of the United States of America. It put us on the political international stage in our formative years, and so it's incredibly important for us to continue to protect that battle site, but also tell the story of what happened there.
It's a tough answer to follow, Jen, admittedly, but you're passionate as well, and you deliver nature and conservation messaging and have to tens of thousands of kiddos. So, what about you? Is there a comparable story, or was there an aha moment? You're like, boy, I could see doing this for the rest of my life.
So, I think probably one of the most compelling places to me was actually one of the first places I visited.
Sure.
And the first Metropark in Toledo that I came and saw, which was Oak Openings Preserve Metro Park. And so I had some friends that lived in this area, so this is before I even had any inclination to come work at Metroparks. And
this wasn't one of your many, many, many friends in the equestrian program?
It was not. Nope, not this time. Okay. Nope. But we happened upon the sand dunes, the Girdham Road sand dunes. And so admittedly, my kind of perception of Toledo compared to Northeast Ohio was that it was pretty flat and boring, not much in the way of topography, which was, disappointing to me.
Yeah.
And then I, saw these sand dunes and thought, well, this is weird. Why is there a bunch of sand, in the middle of Northwest Ohio? So I just had no knowledge of the natural history and the the glacial impact and how that was different over here. And so I thought from a geological standpoint that was neat.
Yeah.
But then the more I learned about the Oak Openings region and the fact that, the Nature Conservancy had it listed as, one of the last great places on Earth, and the rare and endangered species that are there comparatively to the rest of Ohio, it opened it up to being such a special place, and that it was, different looking, but the ecological value there was really amazing to me, because I had looked at it at first and thought, well, what could really be here that's interesting?
Sure.
And then, I started seeing earth stars and started learning about the badger, that live in this area.
You said earth star. Tell me, I've never heard this before. What is that?
Oh, they're fantastic.
If this is really obvious, Lorenzo, edit this out.
It's not.
I had no idea either.
It's not. So they are a mushroom.
Okay.
And actually, here at Wildwood, along the Sandy Trail, if you cross Chipmunk Valley, sometimes you see them there too. That was one of the first places I saw them. But they. Not that anybody can see me drawing, really.
It's okay. Every guest we've ever had does exactly the same thing. Oh, it's about this big. Chipmunk Valley. Here's a picture from my wallet. I used to vacation there.
They have kind of an outer opening that resembles a star shape, and then the middle section is where all the spores of the mushroom are. And so when it rains, it's kind of like a little puffball. So it lands on the.
I've never heard of this in my entire life.
It lands on it and it spreads the spores.
We
around.
just actually hung at the zoo. We did an Art Weber collection.
I never mentioned the zoo.
We did an Art Weber collection of prints, and one of the pictures I chose was an Earth Star, because people are not familiar with them.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed. I mean, it's no relief that you haven't heard of it either, Lorenzo, to me. But this is the first I'm hearing of this, so that I really appreciate you sharing that.
When can people see those?
Did you tell him anything? He doesn't have any idea.
So
mostly midnight on Tuesdays, best time.
So
Get near the lake.
You'll see them primarily on like the sandy, barren areas. So not so much Great Black Swamp type area. But I don't know that I've seen any yet. But
so other than that,
I thought it was late summer, early fall when they start to really open up for us.
Sometimes you'll still see remnants left behind from the previous years, but I think probably your prime time, I think towards July is when we kind of start finding them.
Now, are these edible?
Not that I'm aware of, but
okay, so not edible. That's a public service announcement. Yes. Got it. Okay, all right, that's cool. I've always been curious about this. So you both are parents. You have kiddos at home. What is it like living with an educator who wants to give information all the time? Tell me about your children. Like, what kind of things are they into? Is Grace well-tuned in the historical value of fallen timbers? I know, I mean, do you beat this into their heads? What are their weekends like? Jen, talk to me about your brood and the lesson plans that you have for them at home.
The lesson plans.
That's no. I do kind of have some lesson plans. I do have 3 plans for this summer. A lot of
for
times,
your home.
Yeah, for my home.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. A lot of times I kind of pilot or test certain activities on my kiddos, just to see how they're going to go over with our kids at summer camp or other family programs too.
Lorenzo does the same thing with wigs. His kids. So.
But my son is almost 6. He very much likes animals, all sorts of animals. He found an Opa Leones, a daddy long legs, on our slide the other day.
Okay, all right.
I sometimes drop words like that.
Yeah.
So you teach them scientific names?
I do. Yeah. So he was pretty excited about that.
Yeah.
We have, we live in the Oak Openings region, so we have a lot of biodiversity in our backyard.
Sure.
From frogs to birds and such. So he really likes animals.
Yeah.
My daughter is almost 3.
Okay. Did you say how old your boy was? I'm sorry. How old?
Yeah, almost 6.
Okay, 6 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And my daughter likes pretty much getting into everything.
Sure.
But as of right now, she loves digging in the dirt.
Okay.
We have, I just got them a mud kitchen.
Okay.
So I thought that might be kind of fun for this summer. So
we're going to need to unpack that a little bit now. What on earth is a mud kitchen?
Well, so I have these memories from when I was a kid. My mom got me this book from the library, and it had recipes in it. But these aren't recipes that you cook in your household kitchen. They're recipes where you use pine cones or sand and water and stuff like that.
Fun.
So you make little, fictitious dishes.
Yeah.
So I managed to, I think, find that same book.
Right.
And we set up kind of like a table outside, and they've got mixing pans and spoons and
making soup. Cool.
My son made. He called it Grass-O-licious. It was water and grass clippings and a few stones.
I think that's what they serve at medieval times.
It very well might be.
Yeah. Yep. Future executive chef of the storied franchise.
And then his sister, she just likes playing with water and dumping it between buckets and such, and seeing if things sink or things float.
Yeah, kid.
Mm-hmm.
Shannon, so this is a science critter camp. Talk to me about Camp Hughes. What's going? What is this? What is important? What do you make sure when you're driving by these things? Do you empath historical information to Grace?
I do. Poor Honey. So she has actually been going to nature camp since she was old enough to. So she's always been at nature camp. She's actually coming back again this year. She loves it. So she's good at identifying plants. But we are a history family. And so she has been walking the Battle of Fallen Timbers with me since she can toddle. She's been going on tours with me. She actually has volunteered at Metroparks. She has told me multiple times how she cannot wait to be a CIT at camp.
Now, for a layperson, remind me what a CIT is.
So it's a counselor in training.
Okay.
So you can go to camp as a camper, and then when you age out, you can actually be a counselor in training.
Sure.
And she at 10 is so excited to be a counselor in training because she wants to do that.
I told my kids about that too, because they watched a show called Bunked.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they have CITs there,
Yep.
and I told them about, there's this thing you can be a CIT at Metroparks, and they're equally excited, but they're a little bit younger. But
What channel is Bunked on?
Nickelodeon.
Okay, all right. It's a camp show.
yeah, it's about
Kikiwaka.
Camp
Yeah.
Kikiwaka.
Camp
Okay.
Kikiwaka.
Yeah.
All
Grace
right.
is a fan.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Even, I try to, not just our area, but last couple of weekends ago, we were actually in a hockey tournament. Grace plays travel hockey, and we went to Cleveland. It was a Hockey Fights Cancer tournament. And I know a lot of parents went to the mall and did things like that. I took Grace to a museum.
Yeah. Sure.
So we went to the Cranbrook Science Institute on campus there, and so she loved it. I mean, that was what she wanted to do. So
That was her choice.
I gave her a couple of options, and I
Right.
showed her a picture. I said, "Do you want to do
Were they
this?"
all
or-
museums?
I was going to say that thing. Yeah. Yeah. It was either stay in the parking lot of this museum or go into it. You can decide.
It might have been, but she chose. She chose to go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we definitely. It's an interesting thing though that we do at home, is because a lot of times she'll come home and said, "My teacher said," and I'm like, "Okay, go. Yep, okay. But Mom, you said this instead." Yep, I did. So especially when it comes to Fallen Timbers and some of the fourth grade Ohio history,
Sure.
I think poor Honey, she gets a little bit of a different spin on what we talk about than potentially what her teachers do. But she's very, very political at saying, "Oh, I never heard that."
Yeah. So to the two of you, you've been part of the programming department here for quite some time. I want to talk a little bit about that holistically, and then drive down into camps. So, Shan, you were the head of our programming department, which is now both state and nationally recognized for all of your hard work as a team. And I know that you share that with everybody from yourself down to entry level. Camp counselor. So what is programming? What do we offer? What's our philosophy?
Our philosophy is really to connect parks to people and people to parks. And so we know that you love what you experience and you protect what you love. And so our goal is really to bring people into Metroparks to create that lifelong connection to the outdoors so that people will continue to protect these natural resources in perpetuity for this and future generations. So Grace jokes at home and she calls me the Lorax, but we talk about the importance of what she has when she grows up. So when we go on walks, she'll be the first one to stop and pick up litter. And she doesn't even notice she's doing it anymore because she just does it because that's important to steward the resources we have. And so a lot of what we do in programming is really built around education, but it's also built around enjoying the natural experiences that we have in this region. And there are so many of them that, we've come up with things like staycations because people don't realize, like Jennifer was talking about for Oak Openings region, these are things people travel to us for. And so it's really important for us to connect to our community and make sure that folks understand what we have in their own backyards.
Yeah. And so the layout of programming to me, it wasn't intuitive when I started. So we have environmental education essentially and outdoor skills. Can you talk to me a little bit about the separation of those two things? Like, what do these terms mean and why are they equally important?
Yeah, so when we first started, we actually had a couple of different divisions within programming. So you had history and you had environmental science was the way that the division actually functioned historically 15, 16 years ago. From there, we split into a couple of different roles, which was interpretive programs, environmental services, and outdoor skills. Currently, we have actually changed into having requested programs and public programs. And the reason for that is we believe in programming that we are a family and everybody should be able to program everything. So we are still specialized in some areas. We still have naturalists. We still have a master interpreter. We still have folks who specialize in outdoor skills. But the goal is that everybody is able to program all programs that we provide for the public. Okay. And so Jennifer is in charge of of our requested programs, which are our camps, our field trips, those kinds of programs that people come to us and ask for. And then Ashley Smith, who I know you've had on the podcast before.
It was a nightmare.
She's the manager of public programs. And so she's going to be doing those trips like the AT Trail. She's going to be providing stand-up paddleboard, those kinds of opportunities for folks. And so the way that we currently operate is, I think, more intuitive because it's not environment versus outdoor skills. It's a holistic programming department that provides the experiences that folks really want.
And a progression.
There is a progression. So one of the things that we like to do is we like to hook you in.
Sure.
I liken it to college courses, basically. So you have your 100, which is your standard nature walks.
This is a horse.
Yeah, this is a horse.
From your schooling.
Right. And
this
then
is not a horse.
And then we get all the way up into anatomy and physiology, right?
Yeah.
Which parts of a horse that is.
Right.
So that's kind of.
Do you want to know what part of the horse Lorenzo is?
I can guess.
I don't know. I didn't take all the classes. Keep going. Pardon me.
So we actually look at making sure that our programs are tied to our mission. So we have our core programs. We have our programs that are a little bit more in depth, if you will. So those 200 level courses. And then we have trips like the AT Trail or Eco Trips, which are for folks who are really engaged in specialty programs. And so our goal is to get folks from the 100 level all the way up to the 300 level.
That's great. Having a holistic approach. I mean, your department services are subject to Lucas County as a whole, but it seems to me that you also, or not necessarily specialized, but your focus is always to get your entry level space, like the introduction, and essentially teaching them to fish, right? So that 100 level course what's the excitement around that? Do you have a similar aha moment to like, this young person could never do this, and I promise you I'll get to camps, Jen, but in that space, is there like...
Absolutely.
The bugs were terrifying to this kid, and now they've come back.
That's one of the great things that we have really concentrated on for 2020 and 2021 is we know that the pandemic has caused some changes, but one of the things that we are really focusing on is our outreach and the safety in nature. So we know that it's not intuitive that people love nature. Not everybody is growing up yelling out what a spice bush is or having, a mud kitchen in their backyard. And we appreciate that. And so one of our goals is to bring nature to kiddos at an early age and then bring them into nature in a very safe and respectful manner, understanding that not everybody has grown up along the river and water can be scary. To that end, we've purchased a pool. This pool will be able to be blown up, brought into neighborhoods, and you'll be able to actually get in a kayak where you can see the bottom, so you're safe intuitively. The same thing goes for climbing. So we have award-winning tree climbing programs, and now we've purchased a climbing wall that we can take into the community and bring to them so that they can eventually come to us and know that we are here to service their outdoor needs.
So creating a relationship and trust. Jen, camps, obviously, as Shannon's articulated, that is in your wheelhouse. Talk to me about who the camps serve from age ranges to, I don't know if the curriculum is the right way to describe it, but how do you create a camp experience? And I mean, and whom do we include?
Yeah, absolutely. So we offer public summer camp offerings beginning in June through the first week in August, and the age range for those are 5 all the way up to 14.
So a 5-year-old all the way up to a 14-year-old. Okay.
That's what she said.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, good. Isn't he great? I know this show would be nothing without him.
We have some camps that follow along the progression that Shannon was kind of describing too. So we have our introductory camps to the natural world, our outdoor explorers camp for ages 5 to 7 that has nature study and then also introduces them to some of the outdoor skills like archery, canoeing, that type of thing. Then we also have a nature camp for ages 8 to 12 that then builds upon those skills and then also introduces tree climbing to them.
Okay.
And then we have specific outdoor skills camps that are more in depth to a specific outdoor skill, like paddling camp where you get to canoe, kayak, stand-up paddleboard, or archery camp where you do archery for the entire duration of camp, and really hone in on that skill. Mountain biking camp was actually new last year, so this is going to be our second year for that.
Awesome.
And we do still also have one virtual camp for this year.
Sure.
So we found last year with our virtual offerings that the Art of Nature camp really translated well from a virtual perspective, so we kept that one for this year. And so there'll be live Zoom sessions with one of our counselors who has a background in art, and then we also will be delivering all the necessary art materials to your doorstep to complete all the projects for that week.
Cool.
And I do want to pitch, too, Jen's talking about kiddo camps, but I do want to say that for the first time, we are actually providing adult camps. So these are called No Kids Allowed, an adult summer camp experience. So for folks who maybe didn't get that opportunity as a kid, we are providing that opportunity. We have a biking and kayaking one that takes place in June. We have a tree climbing and hammocking at height that will happen in July. A night owls overnight that happens in August, and archery, hike, and hammock in September. So we are making sure that the camp experience goes from ages 5 and all the way through, whether it be through actually attending as a kiddo, being a CIT, being a paid counselor, or being an adult who would like to experience Camp Kikiwaka in a different kind of way.
This might be, if you can give me a general idea, but I'm curious as how do you design a day within the camp? So from kids get dropped off from bus or parents' car, what does that look like? How do you frame, even on an hourly standpoint, like, we break for a snack here? Like when you're putting pen to paper for the next year's planning, how do you design a day?
So typically each year we have like an overarching theme.
Okay.
So like this year's theme is Go Green. So within that theme then we, for each day, generally have the kids broken out into smaller pods so they can rotate around the different activities. And so for instance, for the Go Green, for that we kind of pick different sub-themes that are earth-friendly type activities, from composting to sustainability, to looking at rare and endangered species and, how we all affect their lives. And from there, we can kind of break it down into some individualized activities that then meet with that subject matter. A lot of our staff has experience, with other summer camps, so they bring in, good ideas that they've had there. But as informal educators, we do have curriculum guides that we can pull activities from also. So like Project Wild, Leopold Education Project, Project Wet. So there's a lot of information out there. There's almost too many options to choose from. So really it's a matter of kind of narrowing down. And as I kind of indicated, maybe testing it on my kiddos at home, what works best.
Other than your home, what is the camper to counselor ratio that Metroparks hones in on?
It varies a little bit by age, and this year is still a little bit different from previous years, but usually it's one camper and one camp inclusion programmer to a group of 10 campers. So 2 to 10 with one person leading the activities, and then we have another counselor that's there to help the kids kind of acclimate to the new situations and provide a little more individualized attention. I know we've talked a little bit about the counselors in training. We usually have 2 per group for that as well. Okay.
That was part of my life, and not directly. My sister went to Camp Store, and it was a big part or positive impact of their lives. And when they could no longer be campers, they then worked there. It's been meaningful, and the connections and friendships they've made in that space, I think, have been a reward for a lifetime. So I get it. Lorenzo, did you go to camp?
I went to camp, and I was a camp counselor when I was a senior in high school.
Where'd you go to camp?
I went to So I wanted to go to Camp Store, and everyone up until every 6th grade class went to there. And then my 6th grade class, we changed camps, and I had to go to Catholic camp, Camp de Sales.
Okay.
I went to a Catholic grade school, and they just shifted for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Still had fun. It was, I ran out of pants while I was there.
Okay.
This took a different turn.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that my mom didn't pack enough.
Yeah, she's to blame.
Clothes. Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I was in 6th grade.
Yeah. I know I'm going to regret this, but how many pairs of pants did you bring?
I don't remember.
Yeah. Okay.
No. All I know is the ones I had bug juice spilled on one.
Yeah, sure. Could happen to anybody. You're a victim.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. Before we get you out of here, you know, this is too early to be asking a question like this, certainly. But if you're retiring, what is the mark of a successful career for you? What would you want to look back and say as a statement to what you've done or accomplished, other than this podcast?
This is the crowning achievement.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
You wouldn't believe how many people quit after this experience.
This and being on an Elvis video with you was about the best I could hope for in my career. So
that's right.
there is not much. I think the best thing is the crowning achievement will be what Glass City does for the city of Toledo. And so what I'm looking forward to is how programming really can help the revitalization of downtown. And so I know we talk a lot about our programs, but really we're very excited to jump in both feet forward with Glass City Phase 2 and really connect with the community. So making those lifelong connections for a population that potentially hasn't really had the opportunities to engage in the riverfront as we are about to give them.
Jen?
It's tough.
Well, we just gave you 40 seconds.
I know. I thought Shannon might talk longer and give me a little extra.
Yeah, well, there's a good reason why you might have thought that. You want us to filibuster the Fallen Timbers questions more but give you some more time? It is a tough question, right? And I think, the chronology of it isn't necessarily sensical, and both of you, all of you, as our team, people are always thinking the next thing to do and to deliver. So being done isn't a comfortable question to ask, and I absolutely understand that. But there has to be a meaningful component, even if statistically, I mean, we have 100,000 people plus that go through our programs, and that's a staggering connection in a county that has just over 400,000 people in it. So you're touching one of every 4 people. You want to check that math, Lorenzo?
No.
Yeah, that's right. So, in that same vein, what does a win look like, even in terms of the end of a summer?
Well, I know one of the things that I've really been looking hard at is trying to figure out how we can provide more summer camp programming for kids in particular. And there's been a lot of growth in that area right now, but I think there's still some room for that. We have our Connections Camp programming where we work with existing summer programs in the Toledo area and bring kiddos out to Pearson Metro Park for a camp experience, because those are campers that may otherwise not be able to come to our other camps that I was describing before. But I feel like there's a lot more growth in that program.
Talk to me a little bit more, to a person who isn't in the Metroparks family. What is Connections Camp, and who does it serve?
Yeah, so Connections Camp has actually been around for a little over a decade now, and it started off as a partnership between Metroparks and the National Youth Sports Program out of University of Toledo.
Okay.
So we wanted to bring their campers into Metroparks, and so way back when that started, they actually walked to Wildwood.
How about that? From where?
Down the University Parks Trail.
How about that?
And so it was a good experience, but a little limiting in some respects, and kind of a long walk.
Right, when kids were running out of pants.
Yeah, that certainly that was certainly also a concern too. Yeah, mm-hmm. And it's a program that's grown, so we were able to.
Connections Camp started out with kids walking from the University of Toledo to Wildwood. Mm-hmm. How about that?
Mm-hmm. And so in this day and age, we now have roughly 15 partner agencies that we work with. Okay. And we have buses, and we get buses to pick them up and bus them out to Pearson. This year they're also going to go to Glass City. But there's a limiting factor in that we could still grow that to more agencies.
Yeah.
And with our public summer camp programming, we're a little limited right now in how many camps we can offer simultaneously. So I think that by the time my tenure is over, I'd like to kind of be able to grow that more so that we can have
Do you have a number in your
camps, different ecoregions for
Wow.
our camps. And, so you have an Outdoor Explorers at Wildwood, like we do now, but maybe simultaneously we've got one on the east side and we've got one in the western part of our parks too.
Got it.
So right now, full capacity for public camps is around 300. With Connections Camp, we usually get about 600. So, maybe doubling that by the time I'm gone.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now you're on the hook. Well, thank you both for your time. I appreciate it. It is we try to have people on in a timely fashion as they ramp up or whatever it is they do is happening. But your work is certainly year round, and both of you obviously were stumbling through to answer my pointed question. So I know that you feel like your work is never done, and I appreciate that. Certainly appreciate that sentiment.
Thanks for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with our top 3.
Oh, wait! Before we go,
Oh, wait.
yeah. What is your favorite outdoor-related movie? I'll go to Shannon. I don't understand why this is like such a brainbuster for people.
I don't know.
Yeah,
It
Well,
was
what
for me.
constitutes an outdoor movie?
doesn't matter. Fair question. So if you ask Lorenzo, anything. But we don't have a hard definition of it. Do you have a movie that you think of as the outdoors, or like The Great Outdoors as a movie? Do you guys own televisions? What is the...
I don't really like movies. I'm trying to think.
Oh, my God.
I was going to say, you could ask me, my favorite line from a movie is Indiana Jones when he says, "That belongs in a museum." Does that count? Because that's outside.
Yeah, he says it outside, right?
Yeah, he says outside on the train when he's a kid.
When the cross
Yeah.
is taken back,
Yep.
and
he said, "That belongs
third
in a
one.
museum."
Yeah,
Yep.
that's where he gets his hat.
He does.
Yeah.
And his name's from his dog. How about that?
His dog named Dog.
His dog named Pony. You can, no matter how you can make it. Fun. Yeah. All right. Thanks to you both. We'll probably just edit that last part out.
No, we're fine. Now we'll be right back with our top 3.
We are back. That was pretty cool. First of all, we learned. I'm embarrassed how much we learned in that interaction.
Like how many pants you need to bring.
Yeah. Yep. This is the Matt and Lorenzo Guide to Proper Camp Management. Two people of the team we're awfully proud of. Like I said, national and state award-winning program team, but delivering experiences to over 100,000 people annually. So pretty cool, and a lot of places for people to plug in and get the 101 or introductory level, all the way up to a Appalachian Trail hike. So that's the whole boat.
Yeah, and like you were saying, it's the knowledge you gain. It is embarrassing. Like, oh, what is that thing? It feels like everyone should know some of this stuff, but it isn't like that Earth star.
Yeah,
right. That I never heard of that. I would have thought it was a mushroom.
Same.
But it's cool. It's really cool to learn about all the stuff, particularly today with all these different programs and
Certainly.
stuff.
Yeah. And, there isn't anything that Metroparks doesn't offer, right? So despite what Jen mentioned about her surprise in the topography, there isn't a lot of topography here, right?
Yeah,
So it is, we're blessed with the ecology we have, but we have built mountain bike courses so people can interact. We have a pool that we're inflating so that people who might not be comfortable kayaking in a open shipping channel. Yeah. So we've got to meet people where they are in order to get them where we want them to go. So great plans, great people. So pretty exciting. The opposite of great plans and great people is the Ear and Eyes portion of the show, which we're transitioning into seamlessly. Our top 3, backed by almost no demand.
I demanded.
Back to it is another movie theme. So I'm not sure if we decided to keep Jen's comments or not. We usually ask our guests what their favorite outdoor related movie is. kids. Jen then immediately confided in us that she doesn't like movies. I don't know what that means, but we didn't have enough time to really unpack it. So I do have my question for you. The top 3 camping-related movies.
Got it.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what dark and bizarre trail you take us down.
Next Friday.
Yeah. That's right. You watched Friday while you were camping on an iPad. So your number 3, again, these are your favorite camp-related movies. What's your number 3?
So I have 2 for number 3 because they're basically the same movies. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't roll your eyes at me.
I can't.
Okay?
It's so naturally to me now. I don't even know that I'm doing it.
The Parent Trap.
Yeah.
With Lindsay Lohan.
Sure.
And It Takes Two with the Olsen twins.
Okay.
So they're basically the same thing,
Yeah.
except Lindsay Lohan plays both twins.
Yeah. You've seen both of these movies, presumably based on your list?
Yes, I have with my kids. Yeah.
Okay.
And my daughter for a long time loved It Takes Two, and
now she hates it.
And she used to call it Two Takes Two all the time.
Yeah.
No, she just hasn't watched it in a while.
Yeah.
But those are good, especially because when I was younger, I saw the Lindsay Lohan Parent Trap, and I liked it. And then
how are things working out for her?
Not good. Not
Okay.
good.
Yeah.
But it is one of these things where it's like, oh, I like this movie because my kids liked it. And it's
I
cool.
love that. Yeah.
What do you got for number 3?
This is a tough transition into mine. Mine is Sleepaway Camp, the awful horror movie from like the 80s. It is every movie trope combined into one film. There is a killer in a camp. We rented it episodically for like slumber parties and things like that.
Okay,
it was kind of scary. It was classically like 80s gruesome.
Yeah.
But I have sort of a nostalgic feeling about that. As a camper myself, I went to Camp Store one summer. Like those ideas came rushing back. You know, the khaki shorts of our counselors with like the baby blue shirts. I was like, that's exactly the people that were murdered on this. So similar to the Olsen twins.
Did you have nightmares while you were there?
No, although I was fearful of
not having enough pants.
Yeah, exactly. Going outside at night, I was like, oh boy. And we camped out. We stayed. Based on, I think, part of the age, we stayed in these A-frames, or classic camp store, but we did camp outside under the stars one night. And we told ghost stories, and I was too old to be as afraid that I was after them.
Really?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So Sleepaway Camp, I don't think anyone should rush out to see it or rent it if it's even available in the United States anymore. It's not a good movie, but I do love the memory of it, and it was a fun sort of romp, if you will. All right, man. Number 2. I assume you only have one in this category. Do you have
I do.
5 or 6?
No, there's one.
Okay, good.
Number 2 is A Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown.
I don't know this.
Charlie Brown went to summer camp. Well, all his friends did too.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, and along with Snoopy and Woodstock, and they palled around at summer camp.
Yeah, I like the phrase "palled around." Yeah, I haven't heard that ever. No, palled around.
I love.
What's it called again? One more time.
Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown.
Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown.
Yeah,
that seems like a dramatic title. Why was he racing for his life at camp?
I think it was because there was a race at camp. I can't remember if it's between.
That wasn't as difficult to unpack as I had imagined.
No, I think it was between either cabins or like the rival camp.
The rival camp.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that.
One of those.
Sure.
Yeah.
Same way with Sleepaway Camp. But they
Who could
killed
get murdered
them.
less?
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Number 2.
This is a bit of a stretch, but it pumped in my head a little bit. Hook.
Okay.
Hook is the Peter Pan
with Rufio.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. I think of those kids as camping out in in the trees and things like that. So
not just surviving.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So Hook is that's a really charming movie.
Yeah.
Obviously, Robin Williams and those. The wonderment of those kids and what their lives were like living there without adults. I love it.
Yeah, I enjoyed that movie too. And actually, when I got older, there's no connection besides the name Rufio, but that's one of my favorite bands. It's named Rufio.
You're right. There's no connection.
Yeah.
But
I'm just saying.
But at least you said it out loud. Yeah. There you go. We did spend most of the early thing talking about medieval times as the restaurant, so I don't really have a leg to stand on in terms of what's appropriate and what isn't.
The end is it doesn't matter what's happening here.
Yeah.
This is the end. So,
Okay.
Yeah, of the podcast entirely.
Just pull the plug on it. All many wishes will have come true. Talk to me about your number one.
Number one, a movie I saw when I was younger, and then my kids got to see it when we went to Pennsylvania last year.
From Snowy River.
No. There was we stayed at my friend's Airbnb, and they had no cable, but they had movies, and one of the movies was Heavyweights.
Heavyweights.
Yes.
Yep.
So I watched
classic.
I watched that movie, and I didn't remember a lot of it, so it was like watching it again, like
Sure.
brand new. So that was cool. But
right.
that's I really
Olsen twins in that? Remind me.
No.
The movie's the lesser for it.
I think Louis Anderson was in that movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure. Louis Anderson, what a bizarre career.
Baskets is really good.
Yeah.
He's in that.
And then he hosted Family Feud.
Family
for a little
Feud,
bit.
yeah.
I love that show. I could do a whole show on that show.
Family Feud?
That was so good. I love it.
I did not.
Yeah, now I live it, but I mean, before it was, what a great show.
Yeah.
My number one.
Wait. What's your number one, Matt? Go.
Stand By Me.
Okay. Okay.
What is the response to this?
I don't know. It's just
They camp outside.
your.
I don't. Are you saying that this isn't like?
No, I'm not.
Thematically?
I'm not.
I've used this before.
You have.
Yeah.
And the movie, your choice of movies, like for these three this particular top three are everywhere.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I'm cultured.
Which is fine.
That's
yeah.
what it is. Like,
yeah. I got a bunch of kid movies, but yeah, you're good.
yeah. This is just all of my interests boiled into one. Okay. I'm a really cultured person.
You are.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stand By Me. I'm going to gamble that whenever we mention this last, we don't have that same listeners anymore. I love that movie. It's from the short story The Body by Stephen King. I can relate to it. I think everyone can. It's funny. It's sad. River Phoenix is in it, and he is great. The narrator is Richard Dreyfuss, and it is. I love it. I think it tells a good story about being a kid and the relatable experience of friendship as a young person and exploration. It's great, man. I love that movie.
And camping.
And they camp outside. I don't have to sell this to you. They are out. They trek and they camp and they pack and they eat outside. I don't have to defend myself.
I'm just messing with you.
So top three outdoor. Top three outdoor early. We've got another one in the books, man.
Yeah, man. This is
a lot going on. This
is something. I don't know what.
That it is. That's well said. Okay, man. Well, number 22 in the books.
Yes.
We've got a filled up docket. We've got a couple more people who have emailed either with directions or wanting to be on the show. So we've got future guests rapidly booking, if you can imagine that to be true. People still want to spend an hour with us. But we always encourage people to send us questions. Now that your mom is under new management, she no longer wants to be part of the show, which is, I know, probably a hot topic.
Her representation just did not want it to be here.
That's right.
Yeah. We do have, if for people sending stuff in, we have an email, Metroparks Podcast at metroparkstoledo.com. If people want to ask us questions, berate us for things we've said, correct our math, anything like that, go ahead and reach us there. Any of the programs that you heard about today, there was a lot of information about summer camps and programming in general. All that can be found at metroparkstoledo.com. This has been the Metroparks Podcast. Get outside yourself.